taking a martial art class doesn't help someone to defend themselves in the street, because the dealing with the fear management of it on when that happens to them is different to being part of an academy or a dojo, like they used to say in Japanese term for karate. Because when you train with your friends, you're training an environment to know that that person is not going to take your head off, as opposed to training with real violence in knowing that, hey, if you don't move right now, you're going to get hit. So how you deal with your adrenaline rush going through your body and what's going to happen, the outcome, and this is where the techniques comes into place. It's always refer, since I'm still learning and I still acquire a lot of different knowledge, not only in terms of martial arts and different of tactics. And for so many years, I've been studying different great martial artists or great artists in the art of their own. And I've studied with Coach Tony Blower. And I like his analogy of referring to weaponize your flinch. Because the first thing that's going to happen if you're in danger, you're going to flinch. And if you don't weaponize that flinch and you don't control that fear, you would not be able to use the library of techniques that you have and you've learned throughout so many years. You know, it's learning through a curve of martial arts training to explain and elaborate on the subject. And you've learned all your different forms and kata and belts for Japanese martial arts. As you mentioned, karate before, it's a belt system. You have a yellow belt and it goes up in different colors. And learning this belt, it doesn't mean if you were to put into a scenario on the street where someone is going to attack you, bully you, choke you, or grab you by the throat, that you will know what to do, you know. And I like his analogy because if you go training in a, I don't want to bag karate on this podcast, but I mean, if you were training in, I will call it martial arts. If you were training in a martial arts dojo or environment, if you were training, because I love karate, don't get me wrong, I still love to practice some of the moves of karate, and I still refer and practice some of these techniques with different great martial artists, which I admire, you know. And you mentioned George St. Pierre, he's learned karate, and look at him now, he's obviously a great professional fighter, which is incredible. But my understanding when you teach, and what I do at the moment is I teach people with all abilities to be able to protect themselves and feel empowered and increase that self-confidence. What's important in doing so is you only have a short amount of time. It's like the first impression on the workplace, first impression on a date, the first impression on the first thing that you would do if something was going to happen to you. What will be your reaction? Would you be scared? Would you flinch? Would you go in a fetal position and start crying because you're facing danger for the first time? It's different. So if you know how to deal with danger and real violence, then you have more chance and time to realize, hey, hang on, not only you know how to deal with danger, but you know what to do in that time, you know? For instance, I just got off track right now, but we're talking about being in dojo in a safe environment every day. Yeah. And people will come in and say, I want to learn self-defense. I want to learn how to get out of a choke. I said, great, but I will teach you, obviously, on how to get out of a choke if you would like to. When it comes to that, when it comes to terms when I feel like you can get out of a choke. She's like, yeah, but what if someone do this? Because I do a lot of different workshops. And they said, what if you do that? I said, well, simple answer for me is karate, to be good, someone asks you, you will train 4 times a week to be able to reach to your belt level. And you want to train to get out away from a choke. But what are you doing? If you're training an hour per day, 4 times a week, which is 4 hours, and to be good at it, you will do this repetitively, the same technique, and you will train yourself for 3 hours on how to get into a choke before you can get out of it. So you will allow yourself to get into that choke position to know, okay, this is what I can do to get out of this choke. And the problem I have with this is not only you can, and you're training yourself to be good and to get out of this choke, but you also getting comfortable to the person who's putting you on a choke. It doesn't mean that the same person, the same partner, the same attitude or the aggression will be replicated the same in a real life scenario. Someone could be on drug. Someone could have a virus, and you don't want to get close to them, and you're going to freak out because you're going to think that you're going to die anyway. And it's the truth. The truth is, how you're going to react to a situation is more important to get used to before to think that you can do it, unless you've done this before. You know, that's why different skill training, different military base, the police officers. Everyone has different type of training. If you want to know what to do in a real life scenario, you're training violence, you train with violence, you know, similar to someone who's going to study, and I will talk about anything on how to be a builder. You know, if we can have, if I have my kids will be a builder one day, and they're showing me all this great work that they're doing at home. It's like, I've learned this at school, that it's amazing. I will think, and he's the top of his class. He will be number one. I'll be proud of him. But hey, I have to be very honest. Would he be able to work under pressure? As soon as he leaves uni, if I put him in the workplace, it's different. Because not only you have to put your skill set into play, but you also have to deal with the pressure that comes in. You know, so it's not only having the skill set to be able to apply it, but it's also having the ability to deal with pressure. So what I do, I teach people and anyone that would come into our program on how to feed off pressure and change it into motivation so they can apply the best ability and skill set to their task so they can achieve the best results.